Thanks, Alex. As Alex said, I'm Nick, CEO and co-founder here at Ology. And thank you for being here and taking time about learning about what we're building here. I'm going to getting our mouse all set up here. What we're going to talk about is kind of our vision, our history, market opportunity, and what we're planning on doing with the funds that we get through the crowdfunding raise. So we'll dive right in a little bit on the history. So we opened up in 2017 in June in Tallahassee. Tallahassee is a relatively small town, university city, but we didn't have a ton of craft beer. So our goal was to make world-class craft beer that pushes boundaries, both scientifically, my background, and creatively as well. And from there, we've expanded into distilling, cocktail service, a coffee program, and growing distribution network across the Southeast. This project's grown to a multi-vertical craft beer company and craft beverage company, I want to say, with 4 profitable tap rooms, award-winning spirits, and demand statewide from major retailers. So our vision is to build the Southeast's leading craft beverage house, and we are building momentum. And really, we're just hoping that you see the opportunity to be part of what's coming next. So as I mentioned, we have built Ology from craft beer into a full craft beverage platform. We started out with award-winning beer, innovative, fun craft beer that I love and that I grew up tasting from college and on. But we also now do distilled spirits, ready-to-drink cocktails. We have those coffee shops, and then one of our locations has a food innovation lab as well. And what that all comes down to is synergy. So spirits and beer utilize the same equipment and same staff, and then our coffee and our food increases daytime traffic in our tap rooms and obviously increases the revenue as well. Canned cocktails allow us to reach new customers and consumers and increases our shelf space out in the retail market. So together, these all come together and it makes Ology more resilient, more diverse, and more scalable than the average craft brewery, craft brand. And also, I think we'll harp on this a lot, but importantly, they all feel like Ology. So the branding, the flavor profile, and the attention to quality, it runs through everything that we do. So if you take a look at this slide, it shows what our execution has looked like. So over the last 18 months, we're really going to focus in on, we shifted away from national distribution. We were in 20-something different states. But what we focused on now is to building a statewide coverage with Florida's top-tier distributors. So we started in North Florida with Tri-Eagle. That's our home market here in Tallahassee. And from there, it kind of snowballed. We have Pepin in Tampa, Great Bay in St. Pete, City Beverage in Orlando, and Lewis Bear over in the West Florida Panhandle. And by mid-2025 this year, we had signed with Bernie Little for Lakeland, North Florida Sales for Jacksonville, Johnson Beverage for Valdosta and Thomasville, and Gold Coast for Sarasota. And these are all the Budweiser distributors. So they're independently owned. They cover 90% of the sellable market counts in the state. And they only take on brands that they believe in and they believe that can scale. So what you're seeing here and what we're talking about isn't just a list of distributors. It's a statewide distribution network that we're putting into place and moving Ology beer every day. So in 2023, we made that deliberate shift going from national distribution. We're shipping small volumes across the country. And while that looked good on paper, it wasn't a very profitable or scalable function that we were doing. So we pivoted to something smarter, and that was the independent Budweiser distributor network. And really what we do on our end is we leverage these big accounts like Publix, and we create a demand. And then we have on-ground sales efforts, or our salespeople, our reps, to create the pool. And from there, the Bud houses, these distributors, handle the heavy lifting of logistics of moving beer to these accounts. So this change instantly improved margins for us, simplified our logistics, and it laid the foundation to scale for not just Florida, not just local, but into a more Southeast craft beverage company. Here we see that Publix is on the spotlight for us. It's one of the biggest signals that we're building something with a real consumer demand. So we launched 52 Publix stores in 2024 across Tallahassee, Gainesville, Ocala, and Tampa. And that went really well. The product moved, the buyer was happy, and the following year, we doubled our number of stores. Publix dominates this market for grocery in the Southeast, especially in the upper middle class, which is exactly our customer base. So there are over 1,300 stores in the Southeast that are all Publix's, almost 900 just in Florida. So Like I said, we're around 100 right now, and being on those shelves is great. Staying on those shelves is really the goal, and that's what we've done. And it's even better. So it's gone very well for us. And here's where it all kind of comes together. Publix wants Ology on shelves. The demand gives us leverage with our distributors. We go to these Bud House Network distributors and in the market that we want to get into, and we say Publix wants us in. If you carry us, then you get that volume. Then they onboard us, and we have to go sell that beer because Publix is a great volume thing, but as well, they want to see our beer in bars and restaurants. So we send a sales rep to support the market. They visit accounts, they run tastings, they push placements, and they build relationships. And again, what that does, that creates the pool on the account level. So the distributor is delivering volume to Publix, bars, restaurants, and liquor stores, and we're building that demand. So it's a thoughtful, repeatable loop where we create the demand for our beer and our liquor, and the Bud House delivers the product. The sales team drives velocity. And again, Publix continues expanding us into more stores. And this is how we see ourselves scaling regionally with infrastructure that works and a great team that drives these results. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our demand and the stores that we're in and really the brand that we've built. So alongside Publix, we're building out the chain account side. We've launched with Total Wine, ABC, Fresh Market, with Whole Foods, Trader Joe's. We're working on Publix Liquor, Costco, Walmart, Target, and obviously more than that. But that's kind of where our focal points are. And each one of the space scales really fast. So what we've seen with Publix is we got in 52 stores, which is amazing. And all of a sudden volume for our production side just skyrocketed. And now we've doubled those stores, so it's going even better, which is great. And so that's how we plan to build volume in these new territories. You may or may not be familiar with Untappd. Untappd is basically the Yelp of craft beer. It's where passionate craft beer drinkers come and they rate your beer and they track what they've tried. I was into this when I was in the craft beer space before opening a brewery, but what's awesome is we've had over 180,000 check-ins and our brewery average rating is a 4.01. The scale goes to a 5, and it seems like a 4.01 might not be that high. You know, an 80% in college got you that degree, but probably not where you wanted to end up or you're trying to go on. But that's not how this scale works. If you look through the app, you'll see there are very few breweries that average at 4.0 or above, and that's where we are. So we're in the upper tier, which puts us in rare company, and especially for a brand that's growing like we are, that's really impressive. You see brands that do really well on Untappd, and then they go push their beer out into the market, and their ratings just plummet. And what we've been able to do is maintain quality, keep innovating, and you see that in our scores that they stay consistent. And so what we think is that's a strong signal that customers love what we're making. And it gives us the confidence to walk into a new market, and it gives us credibility in that new market as well. So here's some just snapshot of some awards that we've gotten. Craft beer side, we've won multiple medals at the Best Florida Beer Competition, including gold for our sour rainbow colored glasses, which is one of our core brands, and bronze for Hazy Double IPA. In the spirits world, we've also gotten a couple awards from the American Distilling Institute. So gold for packaging, silver and bronze for liqueurs, vodka, and gin. And it's pretty incredible for a distillery as young as we are to get these awards. We've also taken home back-to-back years as the best brewery award locally, and we've been recognized as one of F2's seminal 100 fastest growing companies. So we a lot of local love, and we've seen that really helps us get into the markets surrounding us as well. But the takeaway is simple: quality is core of what we do, and as we grow, our commitment is to keep pushing our brand forward. Social media is an obvious part of this. We have a lot of interactions, a lot of just connections with our brand. So we've built a strong, authentic relationship with our audience that shows up in comments and engagement and user-generated content and ultimately loyalty in the tap room and online. So what makes this work is our consistency. We have a great team putting this together, and that is a consistent design, consistent messaging, and tone across all of our brands. So whether you're having a hazy IPA or a canned cocktail, it feels like Ology. And that's what we really champion is that you know our brand, that our customers know who we are and why we do what we do. And we believe that's why our product stands out on the shelves. So as we get tagged in photos without prompting, as people like our stuff and interact and comment, we see retailers seeing that and they also interact with us and we see more volume moving. So we're gonna get a little bit into why we are doing the raise. Obviously very important for today's talk. And we're gonna first address the market opportunities. So the total addressable market we're playing with is huge. In the US, it's a $60 billion market, and that's craft beer, craft spirits, and RTDs, ready to drink cocktails. And if we hone in just on the Southeast, that's Florida, Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, and Tennessee, we see that representing $11 billion of that $60 billion total. So that's our serviceable addressable market. And then based on our production capacity, our team, and our rollout strategy, we think we can capture 25 million of this revenue annually. That's our serviceable obtainable market. And the number is just 0.2% of the broader market we're targeting. So we don't have to dominate to build a thriving, high margin business. We just have to continue executing the way we have with consistency, with quality, and pushing our brand forward. This is more directly how we see using our funds. So first we'll talk infrastructure. The grain silo is already in motion. It's actually installed, and I think 2 weeks ago we had our first brew coming out of that grain, which is incredible. It's a big learning curve, and it's going well. So we're also looking to upgrade our packaging line, which will increase speed and reduce per unit cost as we keep building this. Second, we got our team expansion. So we're working to add reps in South Florida and Atlanta. Obviously, in the Southeast, that's two of the most important territories in terms of population and purchasing power. These are high impact roles, and there's a clear ROI on it. So third, we have our market expansion as we look towards Alabama, South Carolina, and beyond, just our addressable market. We need the resources to build up inventory to supply those markets, to conduct samplings, boots on the ground, and building relationships in these new regions. And the plan is to use these funds to use the same playbook we've been using in the Florida market, and it's been working. So we're gonna keep pushing out into a bigger region. So our fourth thing is we have the working capital to support these increased production inventories of scale, and especially as new publics come online, we need to make sure that we can address those markets. I just have a note here that every dollar we're raising is tied to the lever that we've already tested. So this isn't anything new. We are just expanding on the playbook that we've already been using. We're not guessing on the next move. We're just going to capitalize on our position and how we're performing as a company. Just a quick snap on financials. I know we can't cover too much. Ology generated 4.24 million revenue this last year. We did it with a positive EBITDA of 154,000 in 2024. And that's after reinvesting in equipment, packaging upgrades, and expansion hires. Obviously, we're growing and we're doing it with discipline and long-term thinking. We want this company to keep growing and be in a really good, strong position. So our cash position has been strong, giving us flexibility to manage this inventory and keep expanding into new markets and act quickly when the right opportunity comes up. So we're positioning ourselves for bigger growth, rapid growth, and we've proven that we know how to scale and that we're going to keep pushing forward to do that. That's really what I have to say about who Ology is, where we've been, where we're going. I know we're looking to have a Q&A session that Alex will lead here, but we're really proud of what we built, and we're excited about where we're headed. We're a profitable company that is looking to grow, and we have a very local, very loving community that drinks our products. This next phase, as we expand the Southeast, is going to take more cash, and it's going to push and really start seeing things compound as the scalability happens and as we put new market reps in the market and really push this brand forward. So that's what this raise is about: more velocity, more value for our customers, our team, and our investors as well. We just want to say, if this resonates with you, if you see the vision and want to be a part of it, we'd love to have you on board. You can message us directly through the platform. We're happy to connect, answer questions, and obviously just talk through where we're headed. So thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. And as you have up here, for anyone who is moved in this moment, you can invest right now at wefunder.com/ology brewing. And so I think, Nick, a lot of really great information in this presentation. If you have questions, if anyone's listening has questions, you can enter them into the Q&A and we will see them. And again, we'll answer as many as we can. I'm just going to start. So we have one question from Michael. He asked this just before you talked about the expansion beyond Florida. So I think you answered some of this, but I'm still going to ask it. So
Yeah.
curious about the possibility of outside Florida availability via outlets such as Tavor, WOB, Halftime. Any plans to enter the U.S. Open Beer Championship?
Yeah, so we haven't done a ton of champion or ton of these awards. Just addressing the beer championship is something I think we probably want to start addressing a little bit more as we get beyond just Tallahassee and the local market. So I mean, there's a lot of them. There's the U.S. Open. There's the GABF. And we just got to hone in on which ones we want to really focus on. But for sure, we'll do that. And yeah, as I said, we're looking to expand out of Florida. That's the next step for us. We're breaking into Georgia right now, and it's going very well, especially with spirits. It's neat to see that our spirits are resonating with a I would say just a different region, not Florida anymore. That's been really neat to see. And Tavor is one of those kind of the national distribution that we've not said that we're not going to do anything anymore there, but it's a lot of focus and without a lot of payout for it. So I'm sure we'll send them more stuff. They've been a great partner in the past, but we've really been focused on our regional distribution lately.
Great. Now, someone whose name is Ology Beer Connoisseur and Investor asks a great question, I think, for a fundraise like this, which is what happens if you don't hit your fundraising goal?
So the fundraising goal is really to accelerate everything we've done. As I said, we're in a strong cash position to keep growing as is. But this is the goal. We're going to sit down and figure out where we're at the end of it and where to allocate those funds. But the vision's the same no matter what. We want to grow regionally. We want to expand the brand. And we want to do it as quickly as possible. So, yeah, I mean, every dollar helps us get to that goal faster. But in end of the day, we have a goal, and that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I think that's something that I love about Ology, which is that you guys are building, you are going, and I expect to see you achieve all these goals, and it's just a question of how fast, right? How much capital do you
Yeah.
have to invest in it? But this raise is to accelerate versus like if you don't hit the full fundraising goal, that you guys are still growing, which is awesome. Um, are you looking to Noble Traveler asks, are you looking to represent your product in Craft Beer Fest?
Yeah, we do a lot of them. We've actually since we've stopped the national distribution as strong as we were doing, we're not traveling as much as we used to nationally, internationally. We did just go to Copenhagen to that McKellar Beer Festival, which is a huge festival. It's, I think, probably the biggest craft beer festival in the world, with the best breweries in the world, and that's a place that we deserve to be in, and we love interacting with our industry. But really, what we need to do is focus on the fests that really are in our addressable market. So during our anniversary a couple weeks ago, I went up to Atlanta and I was doing a beer fest there, really representing the brand and pushing the brand and making sure the distributors see that we're committed to pushing our craft out of the door. So yes, absolutely, we love beer fests, but want to make sure we do them smartly.
Awesome. We got multiple questions that are around the same topic here, which is around kind of what is a possible return here, what is an exit or ROI looks like. I'll just kind of add a little context here just for everyone. Like this is one of those things where we just have to be really careful about what we can and cannot share. Given that this is a public fundraise, we can't talk too much about really financial projections or what an exit will look like because of course we can't make any promises. But Nick, I think what you can mention is like, what are the possible outcomes that you imagine here?
Yeah, we've got a couple different branches that we see being very good for the company, going public, and IPO to where we are able to actually have liquidity to the shares. And there's always possibilities somebody comes in and tries to figure out what it costs to buy the company. We're open to that. There's always a number, but that isn't our immediate goal. Um, we're growing, and right now what we've been doing is reinvesting in the company. Obviously, there's going to be a point where we say we need to put the brakes on a little bit and figure out where the future holds. And so that's part of just being a part of the company and growing with us.
Yeah. I would say, you never know, but I think it's good to know kind of what the possible
Yeah.
outcomes are here. Um, Matt asks what the minimum is to break escrow and start spending the proceeds. As far as I know, you guys are going to be able to do a distribution pretty soon, right?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you very well.
Oh, Matt wants to know basically when will you be able to take some of the cash from this raise to start spending it on growth?
Oh, we already have.
Yeah.
So
There we
we met with a South Florida rep that we are very excited about 2 weeks ago and started that conversation because that takes time to gear up. And we got the silo in place, and those grain buys are pretty expensive. So we are already starting to use those funds because we want to grow, and we're able to do so currently.
Awesome. Nick, one thing, do you want to stop sharing so that people can see you a little better?
Yes, I do not have that access. I'm going to have David do that here.
Cool. So Nick, one question that when we were talking about this webinar and you showed me the presentation, I think one thing that's really interesting, you talked about your untapped rating and how great that is, and also how a lot of companies may start with craft breweries may start with a great untapped rating, but as they start achieving the scale that you're starting to achieve and looking to achieve, the
Right.
rating starts going down because quality starts dropping. How are you kind of managing the scale of the business while maintaining the quality and really what makes Ology special?
Yeah. I think Sensory Overload is probably the biggest champion, in my opinion, on that. Is that's a beer that we opened up with day one. We have a small tap room in Midtown and 2,000 square feet to both brew and have seating and customer facing. We never thought we were gonna have core brands that we're pushing out that we never foresaw where we are currently, which it's been an incredible ride. But we're using the same hops, we're using the same recipe. It's been tweaked a couple times for quality and as ingredients change, but we have not cut corners on how we make those beers. Again, going back to Sensory Overload, the hops that we use, we fly out to Washington and we hand select them, so we know what lots we're getting, so we know it's going to be consistent, and we just use quality ingredients. I don't know. I got into craft beer because I love craft beer, and we're going to push this company with high quality and not cut the corners where it potentially hurts the craft and hurts our image.
Um, Question from Matthew. Are there certain beers that you're looking to lead the push out into these new distribution channels and regions?
Yeah. We have our core beers, and we'll read the markets and see what works. But Sensor Overload by far has been our biggest brand. It's a hazy IPA, citra based. It's very tropical, but also soft. I think a lot of people that aren't super craft experienced hear IPA and they think bitter, biting. Definitely can be, and a lot of people like that. But a much more accessible product are these hazy IPAs. Sensor Overload is that. It's very citrus forward, it's soft, it's slightly sweet, easily drinkable. We also have rainbow colored glasses, which is an incredible brand, based off one of our production employees when he got married to his wife, and he got to name the beer and want to create a rainbow sherbet Berliner, and it's beautifully raspberry, lime, orange. It does very well in market. It's got a beautiful red color. So those two are our heavy hitters. We also push out a lot of Italian. So in our local Publix market, those three beers are always there, and then we do rotationals with them as well. So yes, those three brands, especially since we overload and rainbow colored glasses.
Awesome. Off the top of your head, do you know like the amount of production per year?
Um, yeah, I would say annualized off the top of my head, we're going to be right around 4,400 barrels. A barrel's 31 gallons in beer talk. So you're making me do math on the cup here, but
And we won't make you.
14,000 gallons, something like that.
Cool. Yeah, the question was barrels per year. They didn't ask
Oh,
for.
there we go. I did it.
They didn't ask for more detail, so nice work. Um, can you talk about, I mean, the craft beer space is a crowded one. How do you guys stay, how are you growing and how would you plan to stay competitive as you grow?
I mean, I will always champion quality. We have a very high quality beer, and that has not changed from when I had my hand on every single process that was going on in the business. That's been a focus of ours. But I've already talked about the hops and the grain and how we handle that. I think the other step is that we are not scared to be at a price point where we are to signal that quality. So if you look at the public shelf, we are a dollar or two higher than what you might see for a 4-pack or 6-pack. Um, but what we've seen is people see that as quality and they're getting the quality and they come back for more. We are relatively unique in that. If you compare our pricing and our quality of beer that's on a shelf in a big market like that, it's gone very well for us.
Great. A good question from Matthew again here. We're kind of focusing a lot on the beer. Any plans for the coffee and spirits?
Yeah, so spirits we've sent out into distribution. It's going well. It is a different game than the craft beer, and it's neat to go to a bar and see cocktails being made with our spirits. We have a Royal Lavender gin that is lilac, lavender, lemon, and then it's colored with pea flower blossom. So it's a beautiful purple color, and it's one of those effects that you go in a bar and you see somebody order that drink, and other people ordering it as well. We partnered last year with Visit Tallahassee for Tallahassee's 200th year, their bicentennial, and that became the cocktail of the city. And seeing that take off was incredible. The other side of the spirits that I haven't talked about is what we're putting away. So part of the investment in building of inventory are our single malts, and that is something that nobody has seen out in the market yet from Ology because we're at a couple of years in on the aging of those. But that is a big investment. It takes a lot of time, effort, and materials to put those away. But we have been steadily putting away single malts, which is a very niche product outside of the bourbon world, but very akin to it as well. So we're super excited about that.
Awesome. Julia asked, "Is this recording going to be available to share?" Yes, Julia, we will share this out after the recording. So if you've got a drop, no worries, we'll get this to you. Um, okay. Is Ology establishing relationships with other high-profile breweries to serve Ology beer in their tap rooms?
That is a complex question because every state has its own rules. So Georgia, if you are, I forget the exact rule in this one. They have brew pubs and they have the breweries. It depends on which you are, and there aren't a ton of ways to get. You can't really serve other people's product. It depends on state by state, but we do a ton of collaborations. We're in high-profile breweries repertoire and the beer fests fairly often. I was just messaging a very big name out in Colorado. We're working on a beer together. And so that's what we do a lot is this co-branding through social media, through product alignment, and ultimately on the label. So, if we're doing this beer out in Colorado, it sees, I don't know how many people call it, 10,000 people that all see the Ology brand mark associated with that other brand as well. So we do a fair amount of that kind of co-branding.
Great. And we talked about the social media, the distribution strategy. Can you talk a little bit more about the marketing strategy moving forward as you move into new markets?
Yes, I mean, part of it's just paid ads and pushing out our brand in front of people. So Sensory Overload, again, going back to our cores in the beer world, it's Sensory Overload and Rainbow. Um, we need people to see that, and they see it on a public shelf, and they may not know it if we're not also in the bars and restaurants, and that's where the sales rep comes in. So they start putting these beers in the market, and they see that, they love it, and then they see it at Publix and they go, "Oh shoot, I can get that there," and we've seen a lot of success there. Generally, though, we're a lifestyle brand that, we do a lot of marketing as well with just going outdoors and having a good time with our products. Same with the spirit world. Cocktails are very easy to market. Sitting down with a cocktail in front of people, imagery wise, in a bar is a very positive. We've seen that have a very good effect. But yeah, I mean, social media. face-to-face marketing. We have reps that we have out in the market and pushing our brand.
Great. This is really making me want a beer. Uh, Ology sits in 4 tasting rooms currently. Any thoughts on franchising or expanding tasting rooms inside this investment?
Yes. Well, inside this investment, probably not directly. We have goals that we want to hit immediately, and those reps are, as I covered, very critical to us expanding. We've been very clear and very strong on the fact that we're not going to open South Florida without having a rep. Just putting beer in the market is not a very positively conductive action, and that's what we've seen with these national distro channels. And so, yes, that is definitely on the table, and we've talked about it. In Florida, we can have 8 tap rooms. Currently, we have 4, so that leaves room there. Franchising is definitely something we've looked into. I have a couple friends in the industry that have had some success with that. And so, yeah, I mean, we're very open to both those concepts. Obviously, with Tampa, we have a Tampa tap room outside of our Tallahassee tap rooms, and we're open to expanding more.
Awesome. Nick, a question from me.
Yeah,
Uh, I think that one of the really interesting things that you said in the presentation is that you were like going for and had more national distribution, and then there was a strategy change to really focus more regional. Now, I've worked with a lot of CPG brands that the goal is just get in as many doors as possible in as many places as possible, and
right.
the kind of dirty secret that the industry knows that most people don't is like that can bankrupt you very quickly.
Yeah,
Uh, and if you don't play that strategy really smartly when you're really, really well capitalized, it can actually be a disaster.
yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your kind of thinking in that pivot and how, the strategy of this more regional play, at least for now?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to talk about the positive first, and that is that regionally there's just a ton of volume to be had for us. We've seen it. We're in all of 100 Publixes currently, which is double where we were last year. There's a lot of room to grow in that space. That volume is way different than national distribution where you channel stuff into these places where they may not know your brand very well. You're not connected with the customer as well, and ultimately we can't service it. Uh, this is a brand that we built that is, again, a lifestyle brand. Like, our customers know who we are. They're very familiar with us. They love us. We've probably touched most of our customers 3 different ways, whether it's social media, the product out in the market, and face to face as well, which has been incredible. Yeah, you're right. You grow too fast and you don't make smart decisions and push into channels where you don't have a beer rep. That's why, again, why we're focusing on these South Florida and Atlanta beer reps and spirits reps. You can hurt your untapped rating and even worse, hurt your bank account. So you're correct.
Yeah, I think it just shows a lot of strategic leadership, and thoughtfulness about how you're growing and not just growth at all costs because that's what's gonna sound good. It's growth in a way that is sustainable and as we were seeing this year, profitable. So,
Yeah.
um, okay, another question. Any plans to move into craft beer friendly grocery stores such as Lowe's Foods?
Lowe's Foods. So currently, we do not have a distributor that has, to my knowledge, a Lowe's Foods in their direct market. A lot of these bigger companies like that, and that's when I was addressing the chain stores. They're big corporate companies, so Publix took all of about 9 months to really get onboarded with them. And like I said, they're testing the waters, and we doubled our store frontage now. So yes, I know as we get more north, you got Kroger's that are a big thing as well. We're in fresh markets in our markets. We're in the Publixes that we're in Whole Foods, we're in Trader Joe's. So yeah, I mean I would say that is a huge focus of where we think we are headed. We're not hitting those customers that are there as family, supporting customers, whether that means actually family or just that's their lifestyle going to get food. I don't think we're hitting enough in the market.
Awesome. Okay, I've got a few more questions. If we've gotten through all the ones in the Q&A, feel free to keep dropping in questions. You talked about how part of this raise, a critical piece is these sales reps. Can you just talk about what the team looks like at Ology?
Yeah, so we've got our COO right now, David. Then he is leading the sales team, and really that's just talking with them, making sure that they are pushing and seeing what's working, what's not working, and talking as a group to see what's working and not working in the different markets. We currently have two sales reps. So we have our local one, Aaron, and he's covering they both cover a lot of territory. And that is our local sales rep, Aaron. Then we have Jack down in Central Florida, and he is touching Sarasota, Tampa, Orlando, you know, almost all the way out to Daytona. So that is a big market, and that's why we need more sales reps. Is that market can be spread out, but as you get into the higher density areas, they're going to have to focus way higher. South Florida, Atlanta will not be able to function that way. But they're incredible guys. They are selling beer, selling spirits, and making a difference for us.
Um, what about, well, I think there's an important question here as I saw a few people drop out is when people invest, how can they stay involved after they become investors?
We are open to talking and having conversations. We send out updates. We have a yearly meeting that we have to where we can kind of do the state of ology. I would say the biggest thing is championing the brand. Bringing people into our tap rooms, talking about the beer, have the beer in your fridge when you go to parties. That's things that you can do to help us, but it's also a way to stay involved and stay a part of the culture and the lifestyle of what we have. But David and I are always open to talking and having a conversation and talking about where we are.
My last question here, what's the long-term vision here? What does Ology become?
I mean, our focus is being a Southeast regional brand. We see a huge opportunity. We see where we are, where we've gone in the past year and a half, and the low-hanging fruit and the opportunity ahead of us. So, I mean, ultimately, that's why we're doing this raise, is to really to accelerate where we're headed. And there's a ton of market to overcome and to win. And so that doesn't answer the long term, but that's going to take time. We got to get reps in the market. We got to keep pushing, but I think ultimately we're going to hit all these grocery stores and a huge market in the Southeast. And that is a big brand at that point. So
Awesome. That was my last question, but actually Eric just dropped a question, which I think is probably the best final question here, which is, what's your favorite Ology beer?
ooh, ooh, beer of the week. um, I I brewed Sensory Overload for probably 2 years before we opened our doors. So I have a very love of that beer. But at the same time, I love getting hit in the mouth with flavors. So we've got this triple IPA I mentioned earlier that's come out. I love the next IPA. Honestly, I love the new flavors. But if I'm just going to sit down with friends, I'm going to have a lager. And I love our Czech lager and sit down with that.
Awesome. And we got one note that says, don't forget the amazing stouts you guys brew. All right.
They are very good. They are desserts in a glass.
Awesome. Okay. I think we can wrap it up there. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming to this webinar, for your engagement, for your questions. I hope you learned a lot. As I mentioned before, the raise is now open. You can go to wefunder.com/ologybrewing and become an investor today if you were not already. And if you have already invested, you can always increase your investment throughout the campaign. We'd love to have you in there as investors. If you have any additional questions, feel free to drop them on the WeFunder page. There's a whole section just for that. And beyond that, Nick, any final words here?
No, thank you for being here and listening to our story and where we're headed. And thank you, Alex, for hosting.